can never repay what they've given me.
Think that it was a miracle.
What we are looking at in this patient is approaching cancer as a metabolic disorder.
Dr. Robert Nagorny is an oncologist and cancer researcher. He's desperate to improve the odds for patients who've come to him after all else has failed.
His work is incredible.
Monique Borghese, who traveled to Long Beach from Brazil, is one of those patients. Almost 4 years ago, she was diagnosed with a large tumor near her kidney called an adrenocortical carcinoma.
This is a very aggressive and rare tumor.
By the time Monique met Dr. Nagorny, she'd already had surgery and chemotherapy, but the cancer had come back and was growing in her lungs, chopped up into dozens of tiny samples. Those samples were then treated with a variety of drugs.
Iressa, Sutent, Nexavar.
To see which, if any, could kill her cancer cells in the lab. Some of Monique's tumor cells were treated with the harshest cancer killers on the market.
Cisplatin and Taxol didn't work.
Others were treated with drugs far milder. The drug that killed Monique's cancer, better than anything, turned out not to be a cancer drug at all, but rather a common diabetes drug called metformin.
These drugs don't know what diseases they were invented for.
3 months after starting metformin in 2015, Monique got a CAT scan. Her doctor in Brazil gave her the news. While her post-chemo hair was growing back, her lung tumors were shrinking.
It was a miracle.
Is that we've been looking at a drug called propranolol, which is a commonly used beta blocker, and it has a very wide range of evidence to suggest that it would be useful as an addition to cancer treatments. Blocker. It's got a very wide range of clinical uses. It's primarily hypertension and angina, but also anxiety and quite a broad range of uses in psychological as well as physical.
One of the most interesting projects that we're working on is driven by the research of Dr. Gregory Riggins at Johns Hopkins University. The team builds models of brain tumors in laboratory animals, pinworming medication that have been used around the world in children for 40 years. We funded an initial phase 1 clinical trial of this compound called mebendazole, and it worked so well in the phase 1 clinical trials and proved to be so safe that we're now raising money to do a larger phase 2 efficacy trial with this drug. We're very excited.
Inflammation, and there now may be a bigger and even more surprising benefit to taking this drug. A recent study found that the drug may also reduce the risk of death from lung cancer among both former as well as current smokers. Dr. Samuel Gurovich, who's with the Cleveland Clinic, Florida, says many studies over the years have looked at the link between anti-inflammatories and cancer. Could be a bit of a downside here. The doctor says it's important to realize that ibuprofen does have some side effects, including an increased risk of having a stroke. Also in today's HealthCast
system and reduce the growth of tumors.
We know that these drugs could potentially affect the immune system in that way, but it had never before been looked at in the cancer setting.
The drugs in question are found in both Zantac and Pepcid AC, two common over-the-counter medications that are widely available. In lab tests involving mice, researchers found that using the drugs daily inhibited the development and spread of cancer.
For this particular project,
doctors say these particular drugs are already regularly used and safe.